A single sustained cello note, low, reverent. It feels like a held breath. Visual, a slow-motion montage. A single drop of water falling from a leaf into a still puddle, creating a silent, expanding ripple. A city street at dawn, empty. The streetlights are just clicking off, casting long, retreating shadows. A close-up of a human eye. The pupil dilates slightly, catching the light. Voice, deep, resonant yet intimate. Not a preacher from a pulpit, but a friend leaning in across a kitchen table. There is a sound in the universe that has no audible frequency. Scientists can measure gamma rays. They can chart the cosmic microwave background, but they cannot record this. It is the frequency of a divine alarm clock, and for the last 6 months, maybe longer, it has been ringing inside your chest. It happens in the ordinary seconds. You're standing in the shower, the water pounding against your skull, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a thought pierces through the steam. It's time. You're scrolling through a feed, thumb moving on autopilot, and a single word, a location, a job title, a name, pops up, and your stomach drops. Not with fear, with a knowing. You're lying in bed at 3:17 a.m., the house silent, and the stillness is so loud it's deafening. And there it is, a whisper, not your voice. A voice that feels older than your anxiety, clearer than your doubt. It says one word. Now, we have a clinical name for this sensation. We call it anxiety. We label it restlessness. We medicate it, we rationalize it, we try to scroll past it, sleep through it, or drink it into silence. We go to therapists, and thank God for good therapists, and we say, I have this pressure, this constant low-grade hum of urgency. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, but I don't know what. And it's making me sick. But what if, and I need you to sit with this, what if the sickness isn't the urgency? What if the sickness is the suppression of it? Scene change. Visual, a bustling modern American city. Time lapse. Cars streak like comets. People move in blurred lines, heads down, attached to phones. We see a man standing perfectly still in the center of the chaos, looking up. He is the only thing in focus. Voice. We are living in a culture that is terrified of stillness. America was built on motion, the frontier spirit, the hustle, the grind. We equate movement with value. If we are busy, we must be important. If we are exhausted, we must be righteous. But somewhere along the way, we forgot how to distinguish between the noise of the world and the voice of the Creator. The world shouts, more, faster, look at them, you're behind. But God whispers, now, look at you. You are exactly on time. Here is a fact that might unsettle you. The Hebrew word for calling is kriah. It shares a root with the word mikra, which means chance encounter or event. In the ancient mind, there was no such thing as a coincidence. There was only God's voice, speaking through the fabric of your daily life. That job you didn't get, the person you met in the grocery store line, the random article that popped up on your phone at 2 p.m. that made you weep for reasons you couldn't explain. That wasn't the algorithm. That was kriah. You have been waiting for a burning bush. You have been waiting for a pillar of fire, a parting of the sea, a skywriting cloud that spells out your destiny in block letters. But God stopped doing skywriting a long time ago. Why? Because He already gave you the medium. It's your own heart. And right now, that heart is whispering, now. Scene change. Visual. A close-up of hands. An artist's hands, stained with paint, hovering over a blank canvas. A mother's hands, holding a newborn, trembling slightly. A mechanic's hands, greasy, holding a wrench, pausing mid-turn. A businesswoman's hands, perfectly manicured, resting on a closed laptop. Voice. Let's talk about the physiology of a call. Did you know that the human heart generates the strongest electromagnetic field in the body? It's not the brain. It's the heart. It can be measured up to several feet outside of the body. The Institute of Heart Math has proven that your heart sends more information to your brain than your brain sends to your heart. When that voice whispers now, you feel it in your chest first, not your head. Your head will argue with it. Your head will give you a spreadsheet of reasons why now is a terrible idea. The economy is unstable. You don't have enough credentials. What will your mother say? You tried this before and you failed. But the heart knows. The heart has been keeping time with the cosmic clock since before your ego learned how to build walls. This voice you're feeling, this restless, gnawing, holy dissatisfaction with the status quo, it is not a symptom of a mental health crisis. It is a symptom of a purpose crisis. I want to tell you about a man named Jeremiah. Not the Jeremiah of Sunday school flannel boards, but the actual man. He was young, probably in his late teens or early 20s, and God spoke to him. But Jeremiah, being a logical human, responded the way we do. He said, "Ah, sovereign Lord, I do not know how to speak. I am too young." God's reply wasn't a gentle suggestion. It was an ontological reframing. He said, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you had a LinkedIn profile, God knew you. Before you had a credit score, God knew you. Before you failed that marriage, before you declared bankruptcy on that dream, before you took that job you hated because it was safe, God knew you." The anxiety you are feeling is not the anxiety of being lost. It is the anxiety of being found. Scene change. Visual. A split screen. On the left, a serene landscape. A mountain lake mirror still. On the right, the same lake, but a storm is coming. The water is choppy. Dark clouds roll in. The camera slowly pushes in on the choppy water. Voice. We have a linguistic problem in the West. We have conflated peace with the absence of conflict. But biblical peace, shalom, is not the absence of noise. Shalom is the presence of order. It is everything in its right place. A surgeon in an operating room is not peaceful in the way a person on a beach is peaceful. The surgeon's heart is racing. The beeping machines are frantic. There is blood and pressure and urgency. But if the surgeon is in their purpose, there is shalom. There is a deep, unshakable order within the chaos. That is where you are being called to live. The voice whispering now is not inviting you to a life of ease. It is inviting you to a life of alignment. And alignment, especially after years of being misaligned, often feels terrifying. Let me give you a fact from the world of aviation. A commercial airplane during its flight is off course 98% of the time. Seriously. Wind shear, turbulence, minor navigational errors. The plane is constantly deviating from its flight path. But the reason it lands at the correct destination is not because it stays perfectly on course. It's because the system is constantly receiving signals, micro adjustments, tiny corrections, whispering, adjust 2 degrees left, adjust 1 degree right. That discomfort you feel, that nagging voice, that is the micro adjustment. You have been flying through life on autopilot, heading for a destination you chose when you were 22 years old, or a destination your parents chose, or a destination that culture told you would make you feel safe. But the creator of the winds is trying to get you to your actual gate, and you keep calling the turbulence anxiety. Scene change. Visual. A series of portraits, black and white, real people. A woman in her 50s, sitting at a piano for the first time in decades, tears streaming down her face as her fingers find the keys. A young man walking out of a corporate high-rise with a cardboard box, a look of terror and liberation mixing in his eyes. A couple, middle-aged, holding hands, looking at an old RV with a for sale sign, laughing nervously. An elderly man, sitting alone in a church pew, head bowed, finally whispering a secret he's kept for 60 years. Voice. Here is the truth that will either set you free or make you close this video. God is more interested in your obedience than he is in your comfort. We pray, God, show me the plan. And God says, take the first step. We say, but I need the map. And God says, I am the map. Just move. The paralysis you feel, the overthinking, the pro and con lists, the endless consultations with friends who are just as scared as you are. That is not wisdom. That is idolatry. You have made an idol out of certainty. You have demanded that the infinite, creative, unpredictable God of the universe fit into a 5-year plan that you can PowerPoint to your small group. But faith is not knowing the destination. Faith is recognizing the voice in the dark. There is a reason the whisper comes at now and not later. Later is the language of fear. Later is the language of the ego that thinks it has unlimited time. Later is the language of a culture that sells you the lie that you can buy back your soul after you've secured your 401k. Here is a sobering fact. The average American life expectancy is roughly 78 years. That's 936 months. If you are 35, you have roughly 516 months left. If you are 50, you have 336. If you are 65, you have 156. Time is not a renewable resource. And that whisper you hear at 3:17 a.m., that's not anxiety. That's the Holy Spirit doing the math for you. It's the sound of your mortality and your destiny colliding. Scene change. Visual. A dynamic, energetic montage. A jazz drummer hitting a snare drum. A chef plating a dish with precision. A construction worker laying bricks, sweat on his brow. A teacher standing in front of a classroom, her eyes lighting up as a student finally gets it. The music swells. A mix of orchestral and modern indie folk. Voice. What if now looks small? That's the other lie. We think purpose has to be massive. We think it has to be a TED Talk, a best-selling book, a church plant, a movement. We think if we're not saving the world, we're failing. But purpose is not about scale. Purpose is about source. Mother Teresa didn't start with a global organization. She started with a whisper in her heart that said, now, as she walked past a dying woman on the streets of Calcutta. She didn't have a strategy. She had a response. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't start with the "I have a dream" speech. He started with a whisper that said, now, when he was a young, terrified pastor in Montgomery, agreeing to lead a bus boycott he wasn't sure would work. You are not starting with a global stage. You are starting with that conversation you've been avoiding. You are starting with that application you've been too afraid to hit submit on. You are starting with that apology you owe. You are starting with that guitar you bought 10 years ago that's gathering dust in the closet. Do you know what the Greek word for purpose is? Prothesis. It means a setting forth. It's the same word used for the bread of the presence in the temple, the bread that was literally set before the face of God. Your purpose is simply to let God set you before His face, to be present, to show up, to stop hiding. When you hide from the now, you are not protecting yourself. You are depriving the world of the specific flavor of grace that only you can dispense. Scene change. Visual. A slow pullback. We see the person in the center of the city from earlier. He is no longer looking up in confusion. He has started walking. The time lapse continues around him, but he is a steady, calm figure, moving against the current. He is not rushing. He is not frantic. He is walking with a purpose that is quiet, but immovable. Voice. So, how do you know the difference? How do you discern between the voice of God and the voice of your own ego, or the voice of fear masquerading as practicality? Here is the test. It's simple, it's biblical, it's undeniable. 1. The voice of God always moves you toward love. Anxiety isolates you. It makes you want to curl up in a ball, protect your resources, and distrust everyone. The whisper of now will always involve connection. It will involve your neighbor. It will involve the thing you can do to serve. If your purpose is solely about your own fame, your own bank account, or your own ego, that's not God. That's ambition with a halo. God's call is always tethered to the great commandment. Love God, love people. Does this now make you love more expansively, or does it make you love more selfishly? 2. The voice of God is persistent but not pushy. Anxiety screams. It loops. It plays the same horror movie on repeat. The Holy Spirit nudges. If a thought has been coming back to you for months, for years, in different forms, in different seasons, through different people, and it aligns with your gifts and with the needs of the world, that is not a coincidence. That is a vocation. That is God wearing out your resistance with patient, holy persistence. 3. The voice of God requires courage, not certainty. If you are waiting to feel ready, you will die waiting. Noah wasn't ready for the flood. Moses wasn't ready for Pharaoh. Esther wasn't ready to approach the throne. Every single hero in the Bible was terrified, but they moved anyway. The difference between them and us is that they stopped calling their terror a sign to stop and started calling it the price of admission. Scene change. Visual. A wide shot. The Golden Gate Bridge. Thick fog rolls in, obscuring the iconic towers. A car is driving across it. From the driver's perspective, they can only see 10 feet in front of them, but they keep driving. The headlights cut through the mist. Voice. There is a Welsh word, hiraeth. It doesn't translate perfectly into English. It means a deep, nostalgic longing for something you cannot name, a homesickness for a place you've never been. That's what anxiety feels like when you're living outside of purpose. It's hiraeth. It's your soul, which was made for eternity and for good works, groaning under the weight of a life that is too small. You are here, in this nation, at this hour, in this bewildering, fractured, beautiful moment of history, for such a time as this. Not because you are the most qualified, not because you have the most money, not because you have the perfect platform. You are here because you are the vessel. You are the one who was given the specific scars, the specific humor, the specific network of people, the specific sensitivity to the specific pain that you are meant to heal. That voice whispering now isn't asking you to have all the answers. It's asking you to be the answer. Scene change. Visual. The person is now at the edge of the city, overlooking a vast open landscape. The sun is rising. The light hits their face. They are no longer tense. They are breathing deeply. They take a phone out of their pocket. They stare at it for a moment. Then, with a deliberate movement, they put it in their back pocket and look out at the horizon. Sound. The cello note from the beginning returns, but now it resolves into a major key. Full orchestra swells, uplifting, triumphant, but not loud, triumphant in the way that peace is triumphant over chaos. Voice. You have been asking God to open a door, but what if God is waiting for you to stop standing in front of the door you already know you need to walk through? What if the now isn't a test of your strength, but a test of your surrender? The world has been waiting for you. Not a perfect version of you, not the version of you that has lost 10 pounds, or paid off all the debt, or memorized the right scriptures. The world is waiting for the raw, authentic, trembling, audacious version of you who finally says, "Fine, I hear you, I'm scared, but I'm going." That is the faith that moves mountains. Not polished faith, not credentialed faith, just one foot in front of the other faith, responding to the whisper. So here is your permission slip right now, where you're sitting, in your car, on your couch, in the middle of the mess. The voice you've been trying to mute, it's the voice of the one who formed the galaxies and who counted the hairs on your head. He is not confused. He is not worried about the outcome. He is simply asking you to cooperate. The anxiety stops when the obedience starts, not because the circumstances become easy, but because you finally sync up with the rhythm of grace. You stop swimming against the current of your own life. Scene change. Visual. The screen fades to black, appears one line at a time. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Ephesians 2:10. The work is already prepared. The tools are already inside you. The time is now. Fade out. Sound. The orchestra cuts abruptly. Silence for 2 seconds. Then, a single, clear, unadorned voice, maybe a woman's voice, maybe a man's, speaks quietly, as if to themselves. "Okay, I hear you. I'm moving." Sound. A soft exhale. The sound of a door opening. Fade to black. The shift you feel but cannot explain. A quiet, intimate setting. The tone is direct, conversational, yet carrying the weight of revelation. Karna speaks not from a pulpit, but from a place of shared human experience. A kitchen table, a car ride, a moment of quiet before the storm. There is a sensation happening right now that defies the 5 senses. You've felt it. Let's not pretend you haven't. It's that strange stillness in the middle of a chaotic week. It's the sudden urge to pull over on your drive home from work, turn off the engine, and just sit there, staring at nothing, feeling everything. You've been calling it anxiety. You've been calling it burnout. You've been telling yourself you just need more coffee or a better sleep schedule. But what if I told you that what you're feeling isn't a mental breakdown? What if it's a tectonic plate shifting in the spirit realm? Let's humanize this for a moment. We live in a world that has trained us to only trust what we can quantify. We look at the stock market. We look at the news ticker. We look at the Instagram algorithm. We are obsessed with data, but data only tells you what has happened, not what is about to happen. And right now, every spiritual seismograph, if such a thing existed, is going haywire. God has shifted something. It's not a metaphor. It's not a cute slogan for a church bulletin. It is a literal cosmic repositioning of the forces that have been holding your life in a state of stalemate. Think of the natural world. Here in the United States, we understand pressure systems. Meteorologists can tell you when a storm is brewing, not because the rain is falling yet, but because the barometric pressure drops. Animals feel it. Dogs start pacing. Birds go silent. Humans get headaches. The change happens before the physical manifestation. For the last several months, you've been living in a spiritual low-pressure system. You've felt the weight, the heaviness in your relationships, the ceiling in your finances, the fog over your creativity. That was not life. That was a spiritual climate designed to keep you grounded when God wanted you airborne. But something broke 3 days ago. I don't say that lightly. I'm a writer. I deal in facts and faith intertwined. Historically, when God is about to move in a nation or in an individual's life, there is a precursor, a silence, a shifting of the guard in the angelic realm. In the book of Joshua, before the walls of Jericho fell, there was a 7-day period of silence. The people marched, but the breakthrough hadn't come yet. They were in the shift. They were moving in obedience while the spiritual walls were crumbling, even though their eyes hadn't seen it yet. You are in that moment right now. The wall you've been hitting your head against for the last 3 years, it's already dust. The only thing that remains is for you to walk forward. But here is where the human condition trips us up. We want to see the finish line before we take the first step. We want the bank account to reflect the blessing before we release the fear. We want the apology from the person who hurt us before we let go of the bitterness. But a shift in the spirit realm demands a response in the physical realm. You cannot receive a spiritual shift while standing still in your offense. Let me give you a hard truth, humanized for the American psyche. We love comfort. We have built a society on it. Air conditioning, drive-thrus, 2-day shipping. We think if it's uncomfortable, it's not God. But every major shift in history, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the Civil Rights Movement, the technological revolution, required movement before comfort. They moved with an idea, a conviction, before the infrastructure was there. Spiritually, it's the same. God has shifted the atmosphere to favor you, but He is waiting for you to move now. You might be asking, Karna, what is the shift? What changed? Let me be specific. For the last season, you have been in a gap season. This is a term we don't talk about enough in faith circles. It's the space between the promise and the manifestation. In that gap, the enemy has a field day. He uses 3 things: confusion, isolation, and delay. He has been whispering that you missed your moment, that you're too old, too young, too broken, too late. But the shift that just happened is the removal of the gap. The space has collapsed. You are no longer waiting for the promise. You are standing in it, but you have to adjust your posture. I look at the world around us. We are seeing technological advancements that seemed like science fiction a decade ago. AI, biotech, new frontiers. Why do I mention this? Because the spirit realm always precedes the natural. If the natural world is advancing at breakneck speed, it's because the spiritual realm has already shifted into a new era. God is looking for people who are not afraid of the new. He is looking for the ones who will stop clinging to the old season, the old job that disrespected them, the old relationship that drained them, the old mindset that told them they were average. When God shifts something, the enemy panics. And when the enemy panics, he escalates his noise. If it feels like things got harder in the last 72 hours, that's not a sign to stop. That's the sound of the losing side scrambling. In World War II, the intelligence community knew that the Axis powers were at their most dangerous right before a major collapse. They threw everything they had left. You need to understand that the resistance you're feeling isn't a wall. It's the death rattle of a defeated foe. So, what does move now look like? It doesn't always mean quitting your job tomorrow or moving to another country. Sometimes movement is internal. Sometimes it's a matter of the tongue. The Bible says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. For the last few years, you've been speaking your reality. I'm tired. I'm broke. It's not working. That was accurate for the old season. But the shift has happened. You are now speaking the old language over a new reality. Movement now means changing your vocabulary. It means looking in the mirror and saying, my resources are shifting before you see a dime. It means saying, my health is restoring while the symptoms are still lingering. This is the humanizer. I'm not asking you to deny reality. I'm asking you to deny the finality of reality. There is a difference. A doctor's report is a data point. It is not your destiny. A bank statement is a snapshot. It is not your future. The shift means that the unseen world has reorganized in your favor. Your job is to align your seen world, your actions, your words, your decisions with that new organization. Right now, you are at a spiritual crossroads. It's 2026. We are far enough into this decade to see that the old rules don't work anymore. The old ways of networking, the old ways of striving, the old ways of manipulating doors to open, They are obsolete. God has shifted into a realm of sudden lies, sudden breakthroughs, sudden healings, sudden provision. But sudden lies only happen for people who are standing on their feet, facing the direction of the promise, ready to walk. You can feel it. That's why you're reading this. That's why there's a knot in your stomach or a fire in your chest. That's not anxiety. That's the ignition. God just struck the match. Now, you have to decide if you're going to stand in the gasoline of your old fears, or if you're going to let that fire light the path to everything you've been praying for. Don't wait for the confirmation. The shift is the confirmation. Move now. The mechanics of divine movement. How to partner with what God is doing. The tone intensifies. We move from the revelation of the shift to the practical application. This is where Karna bridges the mystical with the methodical, using history, psychology, and theology to create a roadmap. We've established that God shifted something in the spirit realm, but here is where faith meets the road, or as we say here in the States, where the rubber meets the asphalt. A shift in the spirit realm does not automatically translate to a change in your physical reality. This is the great misunderstanding that causes so many believers to live in frustration. They think that because God has decreed something, it should magically appear on their doorstep like an Amazon Prime delivery. But that's not how sovereignty works. God's sovereignty sets the table. Your obedience eats the meal. If you want to see everything change, as the title suggests, you must understand the mechanics of divine movement. You are not a passive passenger. You are a co-laborer. Right now, there is a window open. In military terms, we call this a window of opportunity. It is a limited time frame where the defenses are down, the path is clear, and advancement is not just possible, but rapid. In spiritual terms, this is a kairos moment, the right time, the opportune time. Chronos is sequential time. Kairos is qualitative time. For the last several years, you've been living in Chronos, waiting, enduring, surviving. But in this shift, you have entered Kairos, a moment pregnant with destiny. Let's look at a historical fact to ground this. In 1863, during the Civil War, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. On paper, the shift had happened. The decree was made. Slavery was legally abolished in the Confederate States. But here's the human reality. It took 2.5 years and the passage of the 13th Amendment for that shift to become a lived reality for everyone. And even then, it required Juneteenth, the arrival of Union soldiers in Galveston, Texas, to enforce the shift. What's the spiritual parallel? God has issued the proclamation over your life. He has declared your freedom from that addiction, your freedom from that poverty mindset, your freedom from that generational curse. But you have been waiting for Juneteenth. You've been waiting for a soldier to come knock on your door. You are the soldier. The shift requires you to enforce the victory. This is not about name it and claim it, prosperity gospel fluff. This is about spiritual warfare rooted in identity. The enemy is a legalist. He operates on perceived rights. He has been occupying territory in your life, your mind, your marriage, your finances, because you had a legal agreement with fear, with unworthiness, with past trauma. When God shifted the spirit realm, He revoked the enemy's legal right to that territory. But the enemy is a squatter. He doesn't leave just because the law changed. He leaves when you show up with the eviction notice. So, what is the eviction notice? It's your voice. It's your action. It's you deciding that you are done tolerating what God is not tolerating. We have to humanize this. Stop being polite to the devil. We treat spiritual oppression like an annoying neighbor we don't want to offend. Oh, I guess the anxiety is just here to stay. Oh, I guess the lack is just my cross to bear. No, God shifted. That means the grace to fight is now available. The grace to say no is now available. The grace to take the risk is now available. I want to talk about the move now part. Why the urgency? Why can't this wait until next month? Because the spirit realm operates on momentum. In physics, an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion. This is a spiritual law as much as a natural one. If you stay still during a shift, you will become a relic of a previous season. I've seen it happen. People who miss their now moment often end up spending years trying to catch up to where they were supposed to be. God is merciful. He will give you second chances, but there is a grief that comes with ignoring the timing. Think of the disciples on the water. Jesus walked past them on the sea. Peter didn't ask for a theology degree. He didn't wait for the storm to calm. He moved now. He said, "If it's you, bid me come." He swung his leg over the side of the boat. That one act of movement, leaving the boat of safety, the boat of what we know, put him into a supernatural reality where he walked on water. Did he eventually sink? Yes. But here's the detail we miss. He was the only one who walked on water. The others stayed in the boat, safe and dry, and never experienced the miracle. I'd rather sink walking on water than live my life dry in the boat. The move now is the leg over the side. It is the phone call you've been afraid to make. It is the resignation letter you've been drafting in your mind. It is the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. It is the financial seed you've been holding on to out of fear. That action, no matter how small, is what opens the dimensional door between the shift in the spirit and the shift in your circumstances. Let's get into the psychology of this, because God made us whole beings, spirit, soul, and body. The enemy's primary tactic in a season of shift is to weaponize your memory. He brings up your past failures to make you doubt the present shift. You tried to start that business before and failed. You tried to fix that marriage before and it got worse. But a shift means the variables have changed. The grace is different. The timing is different. You are different. To apply the failures of a past season to a new season is not humility. It's a lack of revelation regarding the shift. You need to reclaim your memory. Write down the facts. What has God done? What has He protected you from? What doors has He opened that no man could shut? When you start to feel the weight of the old season pulling you back, you have to anchor yourself in the evidence of God's faithfulness. That's not toxic positivity. That's a forensic accounting of grace. In a court of law, a good lawyer doesn't argue based on feelings. They argue based on precedent. Your testimony is your precedent. When the enemy says, "You're not qualified," you say, "Precedent. God qualifies the called." As a writer and a student of the divine, I see patterns. One pattern I see right now is that God is accelerating the timeline for those who are quick to obey. In the natural, we see instant everything. Spiritually, we are entering an era where the delay between obedience and manifestation is shrinking. Why? Because the harvest is ripe. The world is desperate for authentic light. The systems of the world, economic, political, social, are shaking so violently that people are looking for something that cannot be shaken. If you carry the kingdom, you are that unshakable thing, but you have to step out of the shadows of hesitation. Let's talk about the fear of man. This is the number one killer of the Move Now mandate. You are worried about what people will say. You are worried about being judged, but I need you to look at the state of the world. The people you are afraid of disappointing, do they pay your bills? Do they know your calling? Do they answer to God for your life? No. The shift requires a holy indifference to the opinions of those who are not walking in their own purpose. You cannot let people who are sitting in their own captivity dictate the terms of your liberation. Finally, we have to talk about rest. This sounds contradictory. Move now. But rest? Yes, because the shift God initiated is not about frantic striving. It is about flow. When you are moving in alignment with the spirit realm, there is a supernatural rest that comes with it. It's the difference between rowing a boat against the current and sailing with the wind. For years, you've been rowing. You've been exhausted. The shift means the wind has changed direction. You don't have to row anymore. You just have to raise the sail. Raising the sail is your move now. It's positioning. It's saying yes. It's letting go of the oars that are bleeding your hands. In this next week, you are going to see anomalies. Things that don't make sense. Unexpected favor, unexpected checks in the mail, unexpected doors opening. That is the fruit of the shift. Don't overanalyze it. Don't let your skepticism, which you call discernment, rob you of the joy of receiving. Receive it with gratitude. Gratitude is the lock that secures the blessing. When you thank God for what He is doing, you are creating a container to hold what He is about to do. The world is waiting for you to step into your full authority. Your family is waiting. The people who need your specific gift, your art, your leadership, your compassion, are waiting. The shift has happened. The resources are released. The angels are deployed. The only variable left is you. Will you move now? Not tomorrow when you feel more ready. Not next month when the schedule clears. Now, while the window is open, while the air is charged, while the spirit is hovering. Take the step, make the call. Speak the word. Send the email. Let go of the weight. Everything changes when you move, not because you're powerful in yourself, but because you are moving with the current of a God who has already gone before you to shift the very fabric of your reality. Move now. The shift is here. Your life will never be the same.